Mic test. 1 2 1 2. Mic test. 1 2 1 2. Okay, it's good. Right, I've got a lot to go over. Well, first of all, this is a long overdue update for this blog, which is an aspect of doing this year that I've not been good at all so far. So, I'm going to rectify that. Also, going to go over what I've done since we started, because it's essentially been a series of failed experiments, which have all just sort of come together now. So let me go over the destructible stuff that I messed around with first. Here we go. Yeah, all in here. Okay. Not what I was expecting. Did I put it all in here? Yeah, I did. Right, so I've basically put all the destructible stuff that I did before into here, which is actually just the same map it was already in, just to demonstrate how some of it works, because I am still going to keep some of it, namely the way this is set up. I'll demonstrate why now. Ignore that, that's just a physics test. So the reason why I want to keep this, despite the fact that it's very unpredictable and a bit expensive in terms of overhead, is it allows for sort of controlled destruction, because these rebar sections will actually support this concrete as it falls apart. The gravity settings are a bit off because I've just been messing around with them, but you get the idea. Now you can see what I mean by it being unpredictable. Sometimes it'll break, sometimes it won't. Changing the projectile doesn't really seem to affect that all that much. With a bit of work though, it will break. What I have found is with increased force when these projectiles hit, you can actually just have the thing explode immediately and still leave the support in place. With the airship, there's going to be big cannons mounted on it, so hitting the thing hard shouldn't really be a problem. And I'll go over some of the stuff that is a bit janky and really doesn't work. Things like this. This is using world support. I'm just entirely not happy with it. The chunks, as you can see with these as well, these chunks don't destroy either. And these things make the problem even worse. It's still reacting to things, but it just leaves debris all over the place. So after bashing my head against this sort of stuff, well, for a couple of months really, I decided to go back to my original idea, which was the airship game. So what you've just seen there, all the destructible stuff, is going to be included. Well, the stuff with the rebar anyway is going to be included as part of the environment, which is something you're going to be able to destroy with the cannons on your airship. Speaking of which, maps. So obviously none of them really have decent names right now, because this is all just a test bed. So that's the current build of the airship that does actually work. Ignore that, that's just a little obstacle to fly through for now. But we do have some previous versions which I've been working on for the past few weeks. They've not really gone to plan. I guess the best place to start would be to show you where this all originally came from. Not what I'm after. First. It appears I actually deleted the thing that I wanted. It was not a very smart thing to do. But I do have different versions going on, so okay, no trace. The reason why the first iteration of the airship, by the way, was called Hovercar is it was based on a tutorial for a vehicle that hovers just above the ground. and I'll demonstrate now why that's not brilliant for an airship. Helica, no trace. Shut up. Of course it is. Alright, I hope I'm setting this up the right way. Still a bit shaky when it comes to player controllers and stuff, just because I've not really had to mess around with them a lot. Okay. We leave that there for now. Plonk this back in. Now this, I mean, this thing here, the control stick, does not work, which doesn't actually matter because this whole thing is going to be in VR eventually anyway, and you're actually going to be grabbing hold of the handles to move it around. So that issue should resolve itself, but all the physics constraints and everything work. The lift works. However, it's less than ideal. I'm saying that the wrong way. What I need to do now is add lift. I assume all the logic is still plugged in. I haven't unplugged any of this. Okay, it appears I may have deactivated that. Should really have checked this first, shouldn't I? What have I unplugged? The custom is there. Tell you what, let's put out 200,000. Oh, that's why that didn't work. Have I unplugged anything else important? No, I don't think I have. That should all be good. Alright. Okay, we're not getting any lift. What? Not the one I'm after. Sorry about this. This is my lack of preparedness here. Input access increase altitude. Should be working from the same controls. Should be working from the same controls too. I change lift force. Let's just put that really, really high. Yeah, there we go. Just had my numbers wrong. Now, straight away you can see a problem. This thing is unbalanced. So right there, we have an issue straight away. Now, there is a way to balance it, and that is to apply forward throttle. But it's, we'll say it's less than ideal. Let's see if we can actually get it to go back down again. This is the other thing, the add force input that produces the lift is really unpredictable on this model of it. So basically it will turn, it will lift, it'll pitch forwards and backwards, but it will just keep going up like a rocket. And it's, as I say, it's wildly unbalanced. And it's just really a case of numbers, so nothing really much has changed between this and this next iteration of it, which I will plonk back in. And none of it really changed. I'm going to get rid of that. Change the controller back to show you this. I just messed around with the physics constraints to make them less loose, and that sorted out the problem of the kind of wild ascent, because everything was in balance at that point. Just set the controller up again. Oh yeah. Bumped into something there. But with that one, you can see it's a lot more controlled. And in fact, I can demonstrate that a lot better actually by just putting an obstacle there for it. Oops. Sphere will probably work best. Basic. Okay, so if we put in something that it has to move around, you should be able to see the balance a lot better. It's kind of hard to demonstrate when it just goes straight up. Oh, that should probably have a bit of an effect. You see there, it is reacting to the geometry, and it is also swinging around. Now, I will follow the thing a little bit actually, so you can see what I mean, and also just demonstrate the control that I put in at the same time. So we now have completely balanced working pitch. That thing's just gone egg and it's completely off. You can still see that it's still going. It's still reacting to the interaction with that as well. It's still actually turning, which technically is what you want because it has no control of its own. So it's just free floating. As you can see, the pitch on this now works perfectly, and to the point as well, because I'm using, rather than using the move forward logic, which you can just put on a pawn, which would make it move directly forward like that, I'm actually using a physics thruster. So with the right amount of throttle, or thrust I should say, and the right angle, you can actually drive this thing straight into the ground, which is going to form part of the mechanic anyway. The idea with this airship is it's very maneuverable if you know how to balance it properly, but if you don't, you could quickly get yourself into trouble. As you see there, it is, I've not changed the altitude, but it is steaming directly towards the ground. Now what you just saw there was the turn input, which is still a little bit too sharp. I need to balance that a bit more, but you can also see that secondary motion with the balloon, which is going to be another thing that you're going to need to watch for. Back up a little bit there to avoid that. Which is going to be another thing that you're going to need to watch for when you're making very violent sudden turns. You see there, it's all